Welcome back to the Henry Hudson Hour. Today I'm joined once again by my friend Jarvis Lampley. The last time he was on the show, we talked about politics, but tonight I want to widen the lens a little bit. What does everyday life feel like right now? How are rising prices affecting people? Why do so many young Americans seem frustrated? And what, if anything, can be done about it? Whether you agree with everything either of us says or not, I hope that today's conversation encourages you to think and maybe understand someone else's perspective a little better. Hey, Jarvis.
Hi, Henry.
How are you today?
I am doing fine in this beautiful weather. What about you?
I wish it was beautiful here. It's so hot, but I've had a hectic day. First of all,
I know.
my housekeeper misplaced my nail trimmers, so I had to run to the store. I already had a curbside order to pick up, and then I had to run in the store to get nail trimmers because I couldn't add them to my order because it was too late.
Well, it was
just ridiculous and frustrating, and it took so long. It was so packed. I was like, I hate going to the grocery store on Sunday because I used to work for Whole Foods Market and I always had to work on Sundays, and it's awful because everyone goes to the store on Sunday.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Everybody, doesn't matter if you're in Alabama, if you're in Texas, if you are in places after church, that's just where everybody goes on a Sunday afternoon. They just want to get their essentials. They want to get stuff for work the very next day, just prepare. That's just the way it is on Sundays. It's always going to be packed. Always.
So let's talk about you. Has anything surprised you lately?
Girl, this weather has really taken me by surprise. So from January to April, we have had a little bit of a dry spell here in Alabama where we have not really had any kind of precipitation. We've had a little winter storm that came through in January, but just the months that followed after that, we've had not really any precipitation, no severe weather. So they were forecasting storms last Monday, this happened this past Monday. And usually this time of the year in the South, we usually get these pop-up thunderstorms. I just call them summer thunderstorms, where it pops up and we just get those garden variety storms. Well, they were actually calling for a little bit more than what I was anticipating. And so when I was at work on Monday, we had some storms that came through. I was away from the main storm that went northeast of the county that produced a tornado warning. Nothing happened out there. But then during the afternoon, as we got the daytime heating, we actually had storms that came from western Alabama, came through and produced some pop-up tornado warnings for our area. And we had a couple of touchdowns outside of the city. It was like on the outskirts. It wasn't these big tornadoes that you see out in Kansas and Oklahoma. It was like these little small EF0, EF1s. But it did produce some light damage, but thankfully nobody got hurt. But that's just to say that even in June, anything can happen around here. Even if it's just a severe weather that we don't usually get, it does happen. It really does happen around here.
Right. And people are probably not aware of this, but the area of the country you live in is called Dixie Alley because it gets lots and lots of tornadoes like all the time. It's exhausting hearing about it because it's so frequent. It's so rare here in Austin. Tornadoes, we may get them once every 5 or 10 years,
That's just so. If I were living in your area, I would probably not. I would really just question about just a whole severe weather thing because I'm so used to going through those events. I'm so used to my weekends either being put off because of severe weather or storms, or I mean, I probably wouldn't even know exactly how to deal without severe weather. It would just, I don't know. I just don't know how I would feel. I would really feel.
Well, we do
I
get
would.
severe weather, but the thing is, I live in flash flood alley, so the main risk here is always flooding, and so it floods here a lot. But we don't get really have tornadoes.
Well, y'all are fortunate. Y'all are fortunate that you don't get any of that. Like it's tornadoes is it's just one of those events that you have to prepare for it. It's one of those events though that people they tend to not really take it seriously because they're used to hearing about um, warnings and they're so used to seeing what doesn't happen in other areas. And people, they get caught off guard. They know that the severe weather is there. They are told to prepare for it. The meteorologists, they let people know, according to weather data, that this is what's going to happen. And people, they don't take it seriously. And look what happens when they don't take it seriously. They either get hurt, they get in the crossfires of it, and it can cost them their lives. So it's just really
Right.
important to, just take it seriously, no matter where you are, just because it doesn't happen in a
Yeah,
certain
as I
area.
always
Just
say here, turn around, don't drown.
exactly with the floods.
Yeah, always. It's very important. Um, what do the higher grocery prices actually look like in your daily life? Because they've been really impacting me.
It is so, it is awful. Henry, it is so awful with these grocery prices. Like I was saying, like had a conversation with you last night about I went to the grocery store and seeing chicken wings for $15, or $10, rather. And then I'm seeing chicken breasts for $14, $15. Hamburger meat is, I mean, it's pretty expensive. Like even lunch meat is like $4 and $5. If you go, um, if I were to get the store brand, um, which well, I'm not really big on. There is a scenario where I would like to get a ham to make a sandwich, then I'll have to pay like $4 for it. Versus 5 years ago, where I could get lunch meat for like $2.99, if that, and chicken breast for like $1. They make all this stuff at home, and I won't have to feel obligated to then go to the fast food restaurants just to be getting food. It just
So, as you were saying, the prices of meat are basically outrageous. I can't relate because I've been a vegetarian for 18 years. Sorry, we kind of lost connection for a moment with Jarvis. But I think it's kind of crazy that it's so expensive to eat meat. I'm so glad I don't.
well, you're fortunate to be living the vegetarian life or
When did you
vegan life.
first when did you first notice things getting noticeably harder with grocery prices?
I've been noticing that well before 2025, since
Me
really
too.
2022.
I think it started during the pandemic, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So what they don't understand is that the pandemic upended a lot of our um, way of life, if you just want to just call it that way. Factories closed down. Countries had to suspend operations, which affected the way that they were doing business. And so the grocery stores, they had enough stock from when they had everything in the stores. But when it came down to ordering a lot of the other supplies and other food, well, they actually had to wait. And there were companies that they couldn't get it out because of the fact that um, the factories, they were closed. Like, so it was mostly um, it was mostly stuff that was coming off from ships, and then the trucking industry was suffering a little bit because of the fact that they weren't getting any of these things. So everything was more of like a supply and demand type thing. And when companies, when factories, when they weren't really producing anything, because you have to have production for things to go out into stores. Without that, well, the supply starts to become limited, and that's what leads to higher prices. And so I feel like also too that the pandemic is not only the only thing. I think it also has a lot to do with corporations that profited off of the pandemic too, because of the fact that um, they were trying to record profits. They were like, okay, well, see what the consumer is going to react to up our prices, and we're going to make sure that once the economy gets back up and running, then bam, the demand is going to be much higher. And they just want to, they, this is where price gouging becomes a little bit of an issue too, because businesses, they love to thrive on that. They love to thrive on price gouging so that they can make money. It's really just to capitalize off of um, just the consumer.
Right. And are you hearing any conversations from your friends or coworkers or family about grocery prices right now?
Yes. I mean, look, my family, they cook quite a lot, and they have to watch their budget too. Like, they have to watch our budget just like I have to watch mine. I have to watch the way I shop. And so my family, they like to buy the essentials like cereal and meat. And they like to just buy a little bit of everything for their household. Even my friends. Now, I have had a conversation with one of my friends about this matter, and he was like, "Look, everything is getting expensive, or everything has gotten expensive," and he has to kind of rationalize with the way that he has to go and buy food, these restaurants. And so, like, I'm one of those people, like, I like to cook, but I also like to kind of treat myself a little bit when it comes down to dining out. But even dining out is crazy. Like, why should it have to cost more to cook than it is to go eat out? That's just where we are. It costs more just to cook than eating out. At the time, it was never like that, because at least your food could spread out because of the fact everything wasn't so expensive. Now everything is trying to compete with the fast food prices.
Right. I feel like sometimes to make a recipe, it's more expensive for me to buy all the ingredients for it than it is to go to a restaurant as a single guy that lives alone, because I don't have other people eating it. So it doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah, when you're by yourself, you don't have to worry about trying to buy for other people. You don't have to worry about um, trying to buy bulk. I mean, you can, if you're single, because you want stuff to last, but then it's just the fresh stuff. Canned goods is one thing, but then when you are trying to eat fresh, then that's when the money starts to become an issue, because you're on your own. You're not having to buy for
Right.
other people. You're buying for
Things go
yourself.
bad because in America, everything comes in huge quantities, so things go bad. It's unfortunate. I can't stand wasting anything. It drives me insane. Why do you think so many young people feel exhausted today?
They feel exhausted because they are seeing what is happening around them. They are seeing that, first of all, look, the price of food is expensive enough. When you have to add in rent, when they're having to come out $1,500, just this is just an example. Um, they have to work double time just to pay their rent. They also are looking at the fact that their paychecks are not stretching out. When they're working 80-hour, when they're working 40-hour weeks, and it's not showing it on their paycheck because of the fact that taxes get taken out, and inflation is just through the roof because this regime, this administration just does not care to tackle on the price of food and gas prices and the cost of living in general. Young people, they are really just tired of the system not working for them. They are just really tired and exhausted that they just have to work so much just to be seeing that they can't show for it. They can't go and buy sneakers and they can't go vacation. They can't save. They can't enjoy the basics. They can't even enjoy themselves because they have to work. Like they literally have to and work and work. And when the bills, once it comes through and once they have to get food and everything, it just, I mean, it literally just stresses them out. I've seen lots of Instagram videos. I've seen so many Instagram videos of young people just, they're using that platform to
Right. Well, do you think
vent about.
do you think social media amplifies their frustrations?
Exactly. 100%. They already have, they are already stressed out about things that is out of their control. They're trying to look for a positive way into, they're trying to make sense of why they can be happy, but then at the same time, um, they look at the way other people are struggling. Um, they are looking at what is going on in the Middle East, for example, and they're trying to correlate what is happening globally to what is happening domestically. Just the reason I say that is just because I know that young people, you know, they care a lot about the whole genocide that is happening in Gaza, for example. They just want the world to be a better place, but they can't seem to they just can't seem to um, be happy when they get on social media because they always have to see the negatives. They always have to see um, stuff like that. And plus, you know, just with the whole what's going on in their lives with things being so expensive and they can't really afford, it's social media has really made such an impact on the way that they can platform just real world stuff like reality. It's not fantasy stuff. Like this is real stuff. This is just real world. And if they can't see that, if they can't see that, well, they are in their shell. And that's unfortunate because they don't want to listen and they don't want to acknowledge what what they have to see. They're not acknowledging it. They just want to ignore and be like, okay, well, just, you know, do you, but I don't want to hear it. It's just so ignorant.
Do you think that they're asking for too much or just something different than previous generations?
They're not asking for too much. Young people don't, they're not really asking for a lot. They're not asking, they're not asking for a lot at all. I know that they have this tendency of, um, I know they have this tendency of saying that, well, you know, why do I have to be at work? You know, what is the point of being at work? Why am I having to, you know, be here when nothing is working for me, nothing is going for me. They just want a decent living. They want a decent living. This is all that young people want, is a decent living. They have seen their parents. They have seen their Gen X parents. They have seen their Gen X parents be successful. And the Gen Xers are the ones that are telling young people in general that, yeah, you should work hard. Maybe if you don't buy stuff so much, you can save money. It's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. These are a group of people, by the way, that voted for Donald Trump overwhelmingly. So you're telling me that Gen X can patronize young people to really just work, and yet nothing is showing. Nothing is showing for it. They're not asking for too much. They're only asking is for a decent living. They're asking for a higher minimum wage, and of course, the companies or the businesses that they work for, they don't want to offer that to them, and they are just so stressed out, Henry. They're not asking for quite a lot. Only thing they're just asking for is just a decent living, just like the way that our grandparents did and our parents. They didn't have to struggle like this. They didn't have to.
Absolutely. You said your perception of progressives has changed. What caused that change?
So my perception of progressive changed when they really started to become interested in just talking about just the economy, just talking about what can work for people. Because I remember the time when I was younger, when I was in the center at that time, and I was just, wondering, why did they want to advocate a lot of free stuff? Why do they want to why did they want this whole European model of doing things like this in America, where capitalism thrives? So I worried a little bit about the fact that we would get taxed a lot just to accommodate these programs, to accommodate free healthcare and free education. And even higher minimum wage. Now, I was really in favor of a higher wage, might have not been $15 an hour like Bernie at the time was proposing. But y'all, this economy, people, they're not
now
making enough
that's
money.
nothing. Now that's nothing. Back 10 years ago, maybe, but now that's nothing. So when's the last time you changed your mind about something politically?
I want to say, well, so this is an interesting question because of the way that the Democratic Party has really just stayed moderate on most of the issues, not socially, but just they're not really trying to move on from the positions that is really still not working for anybody. And I really just hate to say it as a liberal that really wants to see the party move just a little bit to the left, not like far, far, far left, but, just left on the issues to where people are having to just make a decent living. I remember the time when I supported the Democratic Party, and I still support the Democratic Party. I still do. They were all about equality. They were all about. They were really just campaigning, and they were just really running on just equal rights, which is good, which is great. But that was also 10 and 15 years ago, when everybody was yearning for that. Now, economically speaking, it's coming to a point now where people cannot afford anything anymore. They have to work hard. They have to do almost everything to try to make ends meet. And when the Democratic Party, when some moderates, when they're not trying to, when they're not really advocating, for some kind of change, whether it is, I know that they are pushing for a higher minimum wage. That's totally what they need to do. They need to push on that. But I really feel like they should let people be in the party that actually have some ideas. Like Mamdani, he's done a pretty great job with New York City, by the way.
I agree. I've been very impressed by him. I always say, as Bill Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid.
Right. Republicans will never, ever get my support. They are racist. They are demagogues. They believe in fascism. They believe in stripping rights away from people. So why would I support a party that doesn't represent me? Democrats, even though there are some flaws that can be corrected, the Democratic Party is not perfect.
Tying it back in to your perception of progressives, how exactly has that changed?
For me personally, it has. So when they talk about, when they talk about the economy, or when they latch onto the economy subject, they have a tendency of posting a lot of things that I don't agree with, like with anti-Semitism, for example. And that really needs to be addressed. They don't need to be doing that. Like, they don't need to platform off of a hateful message just because they don't agree what is going on out there in the Middle East. And they don't need to try to distort the Democratic Party as, being something that they're not, calling, President Biden names and, saying, just certain things that is going to turn off voters in general. Like, I would wish that progressives would run on an economic message and not try to hijack the Democratic Party like the Republicans did, like with what the Tea Party did with the Republican Party back in the early 2010s. So it's going to take time for me to really just accept the progressive movement, even though I'm not really on board yet. Until I see results, then I would rather see results than to just be hearing a lot of banter talk at that point.
Right. I see what you're saying. I feel I like progressives. I feel that socialism is not a bad thing. There's lots of things in the United States that we already have that are examples of socialism. For example, Social Security. For example, many other things. And I think that it's not always a bad thing. So let's talk about the story about your pants that you got recently.
So I went to a department store. Well, I went to a discount department store about 2 weeks ago, and this was Ross. This was just for work only.
It was Ross, we can say.
Yeah, this was Ross.
We love Ross and Marshalls. We love Ross and Marshalls here.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually one of those stores that look, if I want to get a really good deal on a shirt, for example, or pants or a belt, from our previous podcast, um, I'll go there. Like, I'll just go there just to pick up those for work, because every time that I, buy jeans from American Eagle, or I may go online and buy jeans that fits my personality, um, or just buying expensive stuff in general, then it has a tendency of kind of wearing out within 3 or 4 months. That is not really the manufacturer's fault; it's my fault. So I had to actually go the route to where I can just buy just a $20 pair of jeans and just call it a day. So I went to the store about 2 weeks ago, bought a pair of jeans. It was from Aeropostale, and it was I wear a size 36 in most of my pants. So I thought I could just get away with wearing those jeans, and didn't think for 1 minute just to go into the dressing room right on. So I ended up buying the pair of jeans. I went home, and mind you that the policy says it has no returns. You can't do a return um, on the pair of on anything that you get from there. So I
Really?
ended
I
up
didn't
trying them
realize
on.
that. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's probably I could be wrong, but I think it's like on for certain it's for certain clothing. Like if it's already discounted, if it's like an extra discount on them, then they may not let you return them after you bought them, because once you go out the door with it, it's pretty much yours. So
I see.
y'all, I was so determined to wear those jeans the very next morning. I put those on. I was like, ah! It wasn't working. It was not working. Like, it was so
What
tight around
brand?
my
What brand were
thighs.
they?
It was Aeropostale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
Huh.
was Aeropostale, the teenagerish brand. But see, it's just like it's just like American Eagle. I can wear 36 pants from American Eagle. American Eagle, look, their jeans are awesome. I have never had a bad experience with their pants. Even the size, their pants are sized to fit. So I could get away with wearing a 36. Now, Aeropostale, I've shopped in Aeropostale maybe in like 15 years, because they closed the one down here. So I wasn't really able to shop with them anymore. But it was just so surprising that the jeans were just, and like, it fit my waist, but it was just so tight around my thighs and around like my groin area. I was like, look, I can't wear this. I'd be busting a seam. I'd be ready to like do a split, and that'd be it for the day.
Do you
Okay.
think little frustrations like that feel bigger because life already feels stressful?
Exactly. I try not to make it a big deal, but look, Henry, everything is expensive. I have to go back to this affordability thing, because look, I mean, I try to really save as much as I can. I try so hard to um I try so hard to just like get really good deals on what I can get, because I'm going on these websites and I'm seeing $70 pair of jeans. I'm not buying a pair of jeans for $70 for work. I'm just not going to do that. Like, I will buy it.
Oh gosh, I will.
Well, on the not well for me, night of the town, maybe day tripping. Okay, I'll put some extra money into looking good. But see, that's what I do. I like to look good. I like to look good. But for work, and considering that I walk a lot at work, I'm just not going to spend $70 on a pair of jeans. I'm sorry. That's where I go to Ross. That's where I go to Marshalls, and I'll maybe hop in the mall and see what I can find that's not really no more than $40, if that. Um, it's
Yeah,
just all about.
that my clothes are investments. And I think when you invest in something that's high quality, it lasts forever and you never have to
Right.
replace it. So to me, it's worth it to spend the extra for the quality. But that's my whole take on it. But I do shop at Marshalls and Ross all the time, and I usually leave with nothing because there's usually nothing good. But every once in a while, I find something amazing, and I pay attention to the brands and I pay attention to the stitching and things like that. I'm very particular about my clothes, and I have quite a lot of clothes. My closet, my walk-in closet, is bigger than my bathroom. It's huge and it's bursting at the seams. It's so full. I don't know. Like, I can't live in an apartment unless it has at least 3 closets because I have so many clothes. But I feel that with buying pants and stuff from Ross, now that I know that they don't do returns, because I've never had to return anything to them before. So I didn't know they didn't do returns. So that's really good to know because I do go there from time to time.
See, I was saying that it depends on what kind of it depends on if it's already an extra discount. I'll have to look at the return policy just to make sure, because I don't want to like give you any misinformation or give everybody any misinformation on this podcast. But on my receipt, it did say no returns after sale of purchase. So it could just be this extra
Well, so
discount.
everything is like final sale. See, I love final sales. I hit final sales all the time, especially with my favorite store, Rag and Bone. They have amazing final sales, and it's always a gamble when you buy something on final sale because that means you cannot return it. And I've just lucked out so far, but everything they make fits me so well. So I really get lucky with my purchases from Rag and Bone. I love that store. Um, if somebody listening feels frustrated, what would you tell them?
Just to keep a positive mindset. That I know that's easier said than done, just because of the fact that it's just the world we're living in right now. Just be positive and be vigilant. Also, um, don't ignore what is going on around you. Um, just don't ignore anything that's going on, because the very moment that you ignore what is going on, then you're turning a blind eye to the reality of what is happening. That's really important to know, because it's one thing to get real comfortable, but then it's another thing when you are experiencing. It's one thing to get comfortable, but then it's another thing that life hits you pretty fast with something, whether it's high food prices, whether it is going to your favorite restaurant and you're seeing that something went up $2 or $3, whether it is shopping online, and you see something going up $10 or $15, whether it is, just things that are hanging in the balance with
Right. And one
work.
thing I really want to emphasize here is the importance of people voting.
Yes, voting is extremely, extremely important. I cannot stress that enough. I have been in politics since I was 15 years old. I tell people that all the time. That um, I don't think it's too young, to be honest. Just the way the world is right now, I don't think it's really too young to participate, because that's the only way that you'll learn something. That's the only way that you will know what is going on around you. Um, if the moment that you don't vote, then you cannot complain about what is going on in your life. You can't blame anybody but yourself. It's one thing to point fingers and say, well, the government's not doing anything for me. The government's not doing anything for me. Well, it's because you just don't care. You don't care to get out and um, you don't care to get out and at least go to your precinct and vote. Like, you just don't
Right. Well, in some states, you have to go to your precinct, and some you don't. What if someone says my vote doesn't matter?
Your vote matters a lot. Don't let people gaslight you into saying that your vote doesn't matter. The reason why people talk like that is because the moment that they vote for somebody, then um, they feel like they were being lied to whenever something doesn't go their way, or someone delivered a campaign promise or a pledge and it just didn't work out, or it didn't get they didn't see it happen. That's
Right. And
where midterms come in.
sometimes that happens because of the system we have of checks and balances in this country. Sometimes some things fail, and that is just part of the system that we have. And it's
Right.
not a bad reflection on the person that you voted for if what they promised to do doesn't go through. That's not on them. That's part of the system of government that we have in this country. That's just the way that it works.
It's not a victory lap.
I'll even go there. No one is ever going to get 100% of what they want.
It's not a victory lap, folks. You have to.
And it's just like dating.
Right, exactly. You can even make that comparison. You can definitely make that comparison.
Like nobody is perfect.
And this is exactly what this also ties back to young people and their frustrations, because they want everything to be perfect. Well, it's not going to happen. This is that is a fantasy land type thing, because real world hits you when you get into the real world. I know I'm saying that twice in a sentence, but I just want to be very clear on that. Like, when you start to get into the real world and you have this perception that, yeah, everything's going to be 100% perfect, you're going to get a promotion, you're going to be making a lot of money, you have to kind of work for it. You really, really have to work for it in this country. You just have to work for it. And I know that everybody wants to see change, but it's not a victory lap. You have to keep believing that things will happen. And I'm going to even go here. Look at what progressives are doing. Do you think that they stopped doing what they were doing 10 years ago? Do you think they were stopped doing 5 years ago? Like, they never quit. Like, they were still pushing the agenda that nothing is working for people in this country. Capitalism.
Well, particularly in the middle class. But I do want to promote vote.org. If y'all go to vote.org, vote.org, you can check if you are registered to vote. And I urge all of you to do that right now. It takes 30 seconds. And you need to make sure that you're registered so you can vote in the next election for the midterms, because your voice really does matter. And if you're feeling frustrated out there and you are tired or exhausted, I think the best thing that you could do to help yourself is to have your voice heard.
I applaud that. Yes. Keep voting. At the moment that you stop, you're letting the other side win. Republicans are doing everything that they can to strip away voting rights. And they are doing everything that they can to they're trying to do everything that they can to keep people from participating in elections. This is where they're using the Supreme Court to make these awful decisions, by the way. So you got to keep pushing. You really have to get involved. And, just listen to your friends, listen to podcasts like this podcast. I try to really do as much research, and I try to speak the facts so that people will get every information they can, because people, they go on different social media platforms and they have to read and listen to a lot of negative stuff because people don't care. The people that are posting a lot of things that, don't go out and vote for this person because they just don't want you to participate. That is a control thing.
Right.
You have
And
to control.
regardless of politics, do you think we've forgotten how to listen to each other?
Exactly. 100%. 100%. 100%. There was a point when I was into politics, since I was a teenager, when I was into politics, um, in my early 20s, and President Obama, or then candidate Obama, was out there pushing the message of hope and change. Republicans, they didn't like Obama. Republicans, they would much rather have had an argument about policy than you being a person. Like, it was really all about policy, and I missed that. I missed that back and forth tugging. I missed that. I missed the argument of policy. I missed that. It wasn't anybody name calling anybody, even though there were very few people, very few groups of people that were calling Obama names, but it was still, people were listening to each other. People were still listening to each other. It's not like that anymore. I feel like social media has become a monster where you cannot even post something of an opinion without somebody, just saying whatever they want to. Look,
Denigrating you.
free speech is one thing, but we have to do a much better job at listening to each other. I know it's hard, because then you might be listening to someone who is hateful, but look at what other generations have done before us. They listened to hateful people, and look what happened. Like, you just have to, you really just have to listen to people. I know that there are hateful people out there. There are people that hate the LGBTQ community. That is unfortunate, but that is where lack of education comes into play. People that are ignorant about that subject matter, and then with what we're talking about with income inequality and young people getting frustrated because they are not seeing their paychecks. They're not seeing their paychecks last because they have to pay these bills. And when they're being denigrated and when they're being patronized by people, older people that are telling them, well, maybe you should just work harder and not do things. You got to listen to people. You really have to listen to people's concerns, because the very moment that you start to chastise and just call them names, that's just not the way it is. That's just not the way it
Right.
is.
As I always say, people are just people. As a communications major, I love to talk to people, and I just find people to be so interesting. And I think that just talking to people, it's so therapeutic and helpful. And if you're feeling down, don't be afraid to get out and chat with a stranger. I promise it will make you feel better. And I also just wanted to mention, if you are a Texan and you would like to volunteer for James Tallarico or Gina Hinojosa, you can visit Powered by the People. It's powerxppl.org. It's Beto's organization, and they'll share key steps that you can take to bring new voters into the upcoming election.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Yes, I agree. So, just go out and vote. Make sure that you check your precincts. Make sure that you are checked to see if you're registered. Just like what Henry said, you gotta just make sure. Just check your registration status, and check your precincts too. That's an important thing because around here, I was taken by surprise years ago when I couldn't vote in the mayor's race.
Here, it doesn't matter. You can go anywhere.
And I wish it was like that here. Like, I got to go to a different precinct to vote for our city mayor because I live in an area where it's considered another district. So in national elections, I have to vote in my precinct closest to where I live at. But if I'm voting in a city mayoral election, I had to go to a different precinct. And I mean, it's to me, it doesn't make sense because I'm still a voter here in Madison County. I'm still a voter, but they divided by districts. So there's that.
Yeah, they don't. In Texas, I think you can do it anywhere in the county which you reside. Anywhere. It doesn't.
At least Texas has.
There's no precincts. So let's move on to the news. The first story we have here is the countries where $1,000 takes the longest to earn. Now, some of these really surprised me. Greece, for example, is number 3. Hungary is 5. Czechia is in the top 10. Slovakia, Portugal, Poland, Estonia. These are all countries where I wouldn't expect that it would be like that.
And you said these are countries where they make more money?
No, it's the countries where $1,000 takes the longest to earn. So, for example, the longest is Colombia.
Oh, okay, I get you.
And it says it takes 86 hours of work to earn $1,000. In Mexico, it takes 78. In Greece, it takes 60. In Costa Rica, it takes 53. In Hungary, it takes 51. And Czechia, it takes 48, Slovakia 47, Portugal 45, Poland 43, Estonia 42, etc. I was surprised by the countries in the top 10. I did not expect so many of them to be European.
So I want to say in America, it doesn't take as long to really earn just because we're still the wealthiest country in the nation.
In the world. Yes, the US is pretty low on the list. It says it takes 22 hours here on average.
22 hours on average. That's an interesting article that you had pulled up. I'm going to be honest, I did not get the chance to read that article at all. So I guess just my take on it is, if it's taking 22 hours to make $1,000, is that what the conversation?
Right. Yeah.
22 hours to make $1,000. Yeah, like I said, that just goes to show that we're still, even though that everything is still pretty nutty, with minimum wage and everything. If it's taking 22 hours to make $1,000, I guess you wouldn't really have to work as hard. Don't really have to work as much, just to earn more. That's just what I'm getting out of it.
Yes, and of course the lowest country was Luxembourg, which is no surprise. It's like the wealthiest place on earth. But Luxembourg is a crazy country. It's so wealthy. I just thought this article was really interesting. I was just really surprised to see all those European countries in the top 10 because you wouldn't expect that. But I guess they must have like really low minimum wage in them.
Yeah, because I would expect I would expect Europe to at least have a higher minimum. I mean, I would have expected a bit more myself. That came as a surprise when you were saying that. Like, how is it that America, we're still making our minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. By the way, it has not gone up since 2007. Like, that has been almost 20 years ago. So let that. I mean, pretty much let that. Um,
Sink in.
I just don't know what to say about that. It's just awful. Like, why are people making a minimum wage that's not even doable anymore? You can't even fill up gas. You can't even wash your ass, with a bar of soap, with it being $8. Like, I mean, it's like, how is it that people are making that kind of money, and it's not even catching up to the economy? And so I also think it has a lot to do with a variety. I think there's a lot of variety of factors with that too. Like, some companies are paying people more. The states are also paying workers a lot more money too. Like California, they've upped their minimum wage. So it could just be that states have passed higher minimum wage hikes, or they have passed higher minimum wages so that it can be competitive.
Right, absolutely. And there's definitely a disparity between the different states. So the next topic I wanted to discuss is the Iranian attack on U.S. water supply in California. I thought this was really worrisome.
Mm-hmm.
An Iran-linked hacking group claimed that it breached water systems in California, prompting an investigation by one of the state's largest utilities. Even as officials say there is no evidence of the U.S. water supply being compromised. The group said they hacked systems tied to California Water Service, or Cal Water, and accessed internal data, framing the cyber intrusion as retaliation for alleged recent U.S. strikes on Iranian water infrastructure amid the joint U.S.-Israel war with Iran that began on February 28th. So I guess this is just frightening to me because water is so important. My next article is also kind of about water, I think, and I don't know what people can do when they can hack stuff like this. It's just really terrifying. It reminds me of what Russia did during the 2016 election.
I'll even go here. Our infrastructure is compromised. Exactly the reason why I think that way is because after 9/11, Al-Qaeda, when Osama bin Laden, when he was the mastermind behind the terrorist attacks in New York City, there was a lot of speculation that if we were to get attacked again, then it would be a personalized attack, just the way that it happened on 9/11. So what Al Qaeda was really trying to do at that time period was they were trying to target our infrastructure system. They would either try to do biological warfare, which at the time anthrax was a thing. It was a real thing. I think, as a matter of fact, someone had died from anthrax just the last time. Well, I had watched a news clipping about it when I was a teenager. And so they would actually do a biological warfare, or they would attack our infrastructure system just so that it would put us in a perilous, on the perilous side of things. Iran, on this instance, say that we attacked Iran. And the reason why is because they want to see us suffer. The countries that we are targeting right now, or only country right now that we are targeting is Iran. They're not really trying to plot an attack on the Americans. They want to do what is called an infrastructure style attack, to where it is going to affect our systems, our way of life. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Make us vulnerable to anything around here. That's exactly that's just my personal opinion. And just to note, Handela is a cyber attack group based out of Iran that was formed in late 2023 to target Israel and interests that are affiliated with the state. They are confirmed by multiple intelligence assessments to be linked to the Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security. This is Handela. This is a cyber attack group that is from Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security. And this group operates on online platforms. So they're using social media platforms to expose customer information and erasing data, which puts companies in jeopardy of an attack on its internet network infrastructure, which is what I highlighted. This hacking is a retaliation attack from the U.S. involvement with Israel to help with their military operations against Iran.
Right.
So,
it says we struck some water infrastructure around the Strait of Hormuz. And so that is what they are retaliating against.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to discuss the next article. Texas leaders are asking data centers how much water they use, and most aren't responding. I know I keep bringing data centers up on the podcast, but it's such a huge issue right now, and I'm really interested in it. Data centers use water to cool their massive arrays of computer servers. A state agency sent out a survey to figure out how much, but less than a third of the companies responded. In a legislative hearing Tuesday in Austin, they were told less than a third of the companies surveyed responded. Mm-hmm. Bad data, bad study, said State Rep Brad Buckley from Salado, a Republican and member of the House Natural Resources Committee. However, Texans have been thirsty for information on how much water data centers in Texas use and plan to use, as a rush of proposed new projects has flooded communities across the state. With more than 248 proposed data centers, Texas is challenging Virginia to become the number one market for data centers in the U.S. And communities and some state officials are now aggressively pushing back against the industry. Texas has shifted from aggressively courting data centers to tightening oversights. The latest move by Governor Greg Abbott directs public utilities to ensure that the infrastructure costs required to serve data centers are not passed on to their customers. Abbott has also issued recommendations for legislative action, including requiring data centers to use the most efficient and more expensive water recirculation systems to cool their servers. So it sounds like here that people are really turning the tide. Even Republicans are now turning the tide against data centers in the state, which is different than how it has been for the past couple of years. It's a totally different memo. It's terrible because Texas, there's only one natural body of water in Texas. All of the lakes in Texas are man-made. And we have very little water here. And these data centers, man, they use so much water, and it's really, really bad for us to have them here. They need to build these data centers in places that don't have issues with water. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And color me shocked about Republicans, and especially your governor pushing back on this. I mean, color me shocked, actually, because I was not expecting a pro-business state like Republicans, like you're talking about Republicans that are pushing back on it. Look, I don't think this is really going to be a partisan issue. At the end of the day, people don't want data centers in their neighborhoods. They don't want them in their backyards. As a matter of fact, I was listening to a news story this morning, and there were people in this one Virginia town. And Virginia is the number one state for data centers. And so Texas is trying to compete with Virginia to have more data centers. For whatever reason, I'm just thinking it's pro business. But they're trying to compete with Virginia to having these data centers. So the people that were interviewed, they were saying that they were just hearing lots of noise that was coming from these data centers. And they were just like wondering, what's all that noise coming from? And um, it's just one thing when you put data centers in places where it has
Right.
a
And
lot of water.
the noise that they cause is like supposedly very psychologically damaging. It's like really bad. I'm super happy. I live in an area that is like a historical district. So there's nowhere to build one anywhere near where I live. So that's good. But I would never want to live by one. It's like a low hum, this terrible noise. I don't know if anyone out there has ever heard of Havana syndrome, but I think it's sort of similar to that. And Havana syndrome is this whole thing that all these CIA agents say that they've been having, where they hear this horrible sound. It's countries like Cuba. That's why it's called Havana syndrome, and they use like electromagnetic waves to attack intelligence agents. And it causes like headaches and confusion and different symptoms, very strange, elusive symptoms.
Yeah, lots of people, they are starting to complain, and it's probably it may not even hit them right away to complain about just the health side effects because of the fact that it's releasing smoke in the air. I think it's just because of what is in the buildings. Like they have to cool off their computer chips. And it's also affecting, to me, it's affecting the environment too because of the fact that it's smoke. Like, who wants to be around that? But I'm going to actually post some facts on here about this whole data center thing. And this is actually very important. So, according to a CBS poll, and you'd be very surprised, according to a CBS poll, 50% of Americans oppose a data center in their area versus 20% who favor it. In that same poll, 30% are unsure if they like it in their area. However, 57% of Americans don't have knowledge about data centers, which explains why the public have modest feelings about it despite a majority close to it. The public seems to find out about its cons with water consumption that affects availability resources in their communities because of the fact that data centers, they're consuming a lot of water, and it consumes up to 5 million gallons of water per day, which is equivalent to a town that has 10,000 to 50,000 residents. So there's a lot of pushback on this data center thing. There are people that like it because they have heard of it, but they think there's an upside to it. I don't know what kind of economic argument you can make that would make that be a thing unless people, they just think it's going to generate a lot of money. I'm thinking that's why people like it, because it's going to generate a lot of revenue in their state, but it's affecting communities. They are literally consuming water. This is literally an issue that needs to be addressed. And oh, by the way, in your state of Texas, 56% are opposed to data centers being built. 56% versus 42% that support it. In depth, 20% of seniors 65 and older are opposed, where 39% people's ages of 18 to 29 support it. So younger people are supporting data centers versus seniors who are opposed to it. So it's kind of like there's just it's almost like younger people, they're getting the information, but it's more of a disjointed opinion between the two age groups based on two factors: what is being perceived because of what someone reads versus the exposure of the subject because it's out there.
Right. And I wanted to discuss this article about centrist Democrats freaking out over progressives' winning streak in New York and the New York primaries. This is a Politico article we have here. It says moderate Democrats are sounding the alarm after massive losses in New York's primaries. They fear they're on the verge of losing the party's ideological civil war and hurting its electoral chances. That's an interesting take, and I think that definitely is a valid concern because I don't like it when we go too far to the left or too far to the right. I think for Democrats, going too far left is really causes them to lose overall. It's better to win. For a winning strategy, it's better for them to be more moderate. But moderates are making it very clear that the left's winning streak is potentially just starting. The far left is eyeing even bigger targets in key battleground primaries that will determine control of Congress as well as governorships in crucial swing states. But moderates fear that a progressive primary sweep could imperil the party's hopes of beating Republicans this fall. It's a valid concern, in my opinion. What do you think about this, Jarvis? I think, for New York, let them have their progressive candidates. I mean, it's whatever, but I do see how it affects the midterms because it does make it easier to lose independent voters.
I'm happy that we're on the subject because I could not wait. Ever since Wednesday, I could not wait to talk about this. Progressives act like they are, they really just act like they have it in the bag because of what happened in New York City. But what they fail to realize is that a majority of Americans do not support socialism. And people are going to look at that and they are going to wonder, okay, so they're besides their postings, besides what they're talking about the Democratic Party, anti-Semitism, calling former Vice President Kamala Harris names, and then calling President Biden names. At the end of the day, voters are going to not really care about the postings. They're going to care a lot about what is in it for me. How are they going to pay for these agenda policies that they're proposing? Because this is where everything starts to get a little out of control. Okay, so just like I said from earlier, that progressives, yeah, they can talk about economic change. They can talk about, free healthcare, free education, and everything, but it's always going to come a price tag. It's always going to be a price tag. At the end of the day, the European model of socialism is free healthcare, free education, but it's a price tag, right? So you can't just only tax wealthy people. It will also affect middle class people. It's going to affect lower income people. It's going to, whatever policies that they are trying to push. And I get that people are frustrated. I get that people want change. I get people want change, but let's be real here. Voters, they're not going to be gaslit. Republicans right now, they're going to have a field day with this whole thing. They're going to have a field day. And I hope that it doesn't translate into independent voters changing their minds and voting Republican, because we don't want 3 or 2 more years of this man dictating our way of life here in America, when it really can just be that we can put him out of office as soon as possible, and we can get this country back in the direction where it needs to be. But the progressives, they just act like everybody should be on their side, and they're not really making an argument right now about how to pay for it. That is exactly what they want to avoid. They want to avoid how people are going to pay for it. You just can't tax the rich. You have to come out with a game plan. This didn't work in 2019. It sure did not work in 2022. Um, Obviously, because they were talking about defunding the police. And I just want to make some points here about a few of these, about what I'm going to make a few. I'm just going to make just a couple of points on this one. So, Daria Lisa Chevalier, who is a public defender in New York's 13th district, she had unseated Representative Adriano Espelay. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But she also made some very controversial remarks in the past, calling President Biden a rapist. She also posted I'm going to probably just say it on the podcast, F you, Kamala Harris, on her tweet. And she expressed support in abolishing the police and seizing private property, which is communism, by the way. So this is something that's a problem. That is a problem. And you got another person who was Brad Lander, who was a comptroller, defeated Representative Dan Goldman in New York's 10th congressional district. Goldman only served one term in office since being elected in 2022. And then what Mayor Mamdani, what he was able to do was he was able to endorse 3 of the candidates based off his successes in New York City. Credit Zoran Mamdani for doing a great job. But
right, he's been very successful. And what I always look for in a politician is someone that actually get shit done. And that's why I love that Lauren Underwood. I think she's from Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. Every single bill she writes gets passed. Almost every single one. She is an effective politician. And what I look for in leaders and leadership is efficacy. Ugh, I can't say that word. Efficacy. And it's like, I think that if they're going to get stuff done, then I'm all for it. But if they're not going to get stuff done, then I'm not for it. Because there's a lot of Congress people that sit around and they don't get a single bill passed. You know what I mean?
Right. And progressives, they have to talk about how they are going to pay for anything that they propose, because at the end of the day, They're not for capitalism. They don't like capitalism. That's going to affect businesses. That's just, it's just one more, it's just one more problem, Henry. It's just one more problem. That's why I'm saying that you can't, I don't support socialism just because it's going to affect taxpayers. I don't care what class that you are in. I don't like being taxed to death just to support programs. There should be a way to fund these programs without having to tax a lot of people. Yeah, the rich people, wealthy people, yeah, they deserve to get taxed. I mean, look, the trillionaire freaking Elon Musk, for example, needs to be taxed. But these policies that they're putting out there, it's going to get, look, people are going to get the bill. They're going to get what's coming to, look, they're going to have to really explain how it's going to get fixed. Like how can they fix a problem without making it worse than what Republicans are doing? Because mind you, that Republicans have already passed Trump's one big beautiful bill, whatever that shit is, like defunding Medicaid, and then for 10 years, and then cutting healthcare, for millions of people. And then you got this stupid ballroom that he wants to build, and then you got the fucking I'm gonna go here. He got us in a freaking war, okay? $200 billion, and we keep funding Israel, okay? We keep funding countries to attack other countries. And now you got this freaking Iran deal that nothing's showing for it, except we're just writing a check to Iran, and it's getting paid with our tax dollars. And then on top of his stupid birthday, that's money that we have to pay just to get the grounds get back to where it was. So look, the point of emphasis is progressives, they can't talk about everything is not working for anybody when they are proposing policies and when they are proposing policies that is just going to further eat a lot of working class people. They are going to have to do a job at convincing.
Yeah, for sure. Convincing, that's right. Especially independents, that's hard. So I'm gonna skip ahead here because we need to wrap up soon. But I was just wanted to discuss Trump canceling the signing of the bipartisan housing bill ahead of a tense meeting with GOP senators. This is really disappointing. Congress advanced a bipartisan measure to improve housing affordability this week, which is incredible. I can't believe they got that done. And President Donald Trump abruptly canceled a signing of the bill that was scheduled to happen at the Capitol. It's kind of really disappointing. The housing bill aims to increase supply and make homes more affordable, and was heralded as a major win by both political parties. But Trump said he would not sign the bill until Congress passed a controversial voter ID bill known as the Save America Act, which is stalled in the Senate. After canceling the bill signing, Trump attended a scheduled meeting, met on the Hill with Senate Republicans that attendees said turned contentious at times. So I just think this is ridiculous. Why won't he sign this bill? It's such a good bill. It's bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats agreed with it. I don't understand why it would help him win the midterms if he signed this bill.
Because he's stupid, and he's also ignorant. And look, he is going to, right now, Trump doesn't even care about gas prices, if he said over a month ago, if he just said to people, if he literally got behind the camera, when he told the reporters that he don't care if he don't care about cost of living and he don't care about the gas prices being high, he is literally showing you what he's doing. He's doing everything by design, which is he just does not want to do anything for the American people. He does not want to do anything for them. This is all about his vanity project. This is about trying to strip away. This is really all about voter suppression. He wants to make it hard for people to vote because in his mind that it has a lot to do with the 2020 election. It has a lot to do with the whole he thinks that Georgia and he thinks that Georgia and Pennsylvania, he thinks that those states were I guess they thought that he thought that it was rigged against him or that he won, so he's going to still claim fraud. And that's exactly why he wants the Safe America Act passed, just so that it is by design to make it harder for he wants passports, he wants birth certificates, he wants all these documents for people to prove that are U.S. citizens. So if you've been here in the country last 2 years, you don't have any documentation, which I really thought, I mean, look, you have to be a citizen, a U.S. citizen to vote. You have to be a U.S. citizen to vote. But instead, he really is just making it hard for people to just go in a precinct with their voter, with their ID and just to prove that who they are so that they can cast their ballot. And yeah, this is really just all about suppressing people's vote. And the reason why also he's doing this is because he knows that Republicans are fucked in 2026. If people just get it right this time, not worry about what Mom Donnie's candidates did, which I'm so, right now, I'm not disappointed in what Democrats are doing. I just don't want this to be an infighting with centrist. Want this to be
and the left, right? It's not good when centrists and the left fight. It tears apart the party and it makes it impossible for us to win.
Don't try to fight with progressives because they are on a roll. They have to explain themselves about things and let it be. Look, let them have it. Let them explain to voters and to the American people why they are deserving in New York City and other states that have their elections coming up. Look, they have to explain themselves, but don't get into their don't get into their moment. Let them convince to people why they are deserving, just as if they are going to be doing the exact same thing with their constituents. Don't mess up a good thing. If it means something for them, let them have it. Don't do this infighting, because what's going to happen is if they continue doing this, it's going to turn off a lot of younger voters. That's what I'm concerned about. It's not the independents. It's not older people. It's young people. They want to see a fresh change. They are tired of their progress being, they're tired of being kind of pushed a little bit. So yeah, let them explain. Get out of the way and just let these people explain how they are going to do these things. Like, stop with saying they're going to sign a pledge and all this crap. I mean, that's what turns people off. Focus on the fucking midterms, Democrats. Focus. We have one job and there's not too much time left. Focus.
Yeah, Democrats argue, meanwhile, that his punting on the housing bill is evidence he doesn't care about the cost of living for the average American. Elizabeth Warren said, who co-sponsored the bill, by the way, she said it doesn't make any sense other than whatever it is he wants to do is a complete indifference to the cost squeeze on American families and to genuine efforts to do something about it. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
cost
just
of living.
feel it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that he won't sign this bill. It makes no sense. It's totally illogical because it would help him and his party in the midterms if he did something about affordability. And he has straight up said that he doesn't give a fuck. It's crazy. It's like,
It's
why? It's what? So I just wanted to touch on Gen Z's hiring hell. 1 in 3 employers admit they're replacing entry level roles with AI, and tech and manufacturing jobs are most at risk. This article freaks me out because I'm graduating next year with my bachelor's, and I already have one degree, but I'm looking for a second job at the moment, and it's really hard. And this really worries me. It personally affects me, even though I'm a millennial, I'm not Gen Z. I'm in the same boat as them.
And this is where people not really wasting their years trying to be something when they graduate. They feel like they're being told to go to college, or they are being encouraged. I'll be honest. They are being encouraged to go to college, uh, find uh, find something that they can live with. Find something that is in their interest. You know, complete those 4 years of university, graduate, get your degree, go in the real world, and there you go. And unfortunately, they're not seeing any results when they go in the real world. Like, they're not graduate. It's taking them so long to find their career because of what companies are doing. Companies are like giving middle finger to graduates, postgraduates, and telling them, well, no, we don't really need you. We've already, have had to place most of the workforce with AI. And look, AI it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. It's
It
been a
absolutely
problem
is, and it
with
needs to be
education.
addressed by legislators, in my opinion. So jobs like technology, manufacturing, consulting, finance, healthcare, and services are the most affected by AI, apparently, according to this Fortune article. And I think that I know it's really impacting the tech industry the most. Luckily, since
Oh,
I'm a
yes.
journalist, I think my career is a little safer. But it's still just a really bad situation. And I think we can wrap up on that note because I have a date tonight and I need to get ready. But
Yes, enjoy your date.
I hope that something is done about the loss of jobs, entry level jobs for young people, congressionally. It's very important that they do something about it sooner than later. And hopefully after the midterms, they will. We covered grocery prices, storms, frustration, voting, changing your mind, and maybe most importantly, listening. Whether you agreed with everything or not, I hope today reminded you that behind every opinion is a person trying to make sense of the world. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can find me on Instagram at Henry Hudson Hour or send me an email at henryhudsonhour@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, or even ideas for future episodes. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to John Bartman for providing the music featured throughout the episode. And next time on the program, I'll be sitting down with a very special guest, my 91-year-old grandmother, for a conversation that I think will be unlike anything we've done before. She is incredible. So everyone will love that. And until then, take care of yourselves, be kind to one another, keep asking good questions, and don't underestimate the value of simply listening to someone. I'm Henry Hudson. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Bye, Jarvis.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Thank you for having me on as always. You have a great night.
No worries. You too.